In this week's show, can you name the famous character that started in this game? We pit the ZX Spectrum against the mighty Colecovision. Commodore makes us collapse in the desert. And we explore a super rare games console you may never have seen before. Hello, yes, it is me, it is Jace at Retrogames! Hello, I thought we'll have another go, not sure how successful the last episode was, but here we are. What's on the table? Who came up with that idea? I don't know. He's an idiot. How are you? Happy Friday. Retro gaming day. Should we just kick straight off? We got rid of the chaff. And I know if you guys are missing the chaff, you can check me out on Retro Bear's channel. We're doing a few talky shows, which have been a lot of fun. It's a 3D shooting game, but the whole of the graphics that you drive through is made of fractals. Do you know what fractals like? The process is like a generator. What's that game that they play where they go to space and everyone's playing that game where it just self-generates and it's all random? It's like that.
Space Invaders.
No. But it's not so much fun talking to yourself, is it? I'm just going to get on with it and show you some games.
What's on the table?
Now I'm going to start with this most boring game you can think of. It's not even a game. It is called Dragon 32 Machine Language Tutorial. Yes, learning machine code on the 8-bit Dragon 32 computer. And you're thinking, Jace, come off it. That is a bit boring, a bit dull, mate. A bit dull. Yes, okay, but there's a reason I picked it. There's a reason I pick all this stuff. So there we have the manual. I love these polystyrene boxes. The grip, the cassette. Microdeal did this, a few different ones. Space shuttle, flight simulation. Yeah, they have this grippy tape polystyrene, which I don't know. Nobody's making packaging like that anymore. Anyway, so we've got the tutorial, very brief tutorial for a machine code tutor program. But look at this. This is the Cuthbert Club Flyer. Yes, the Cuthbert Club. Founded in 1982, Microdeal was based in St Austell in Cornwall. It was dedicated to making software for the Dragon 32 and the fully compatible Tandy TRS-80 or Coco home computers. Microdeal was also the home of legendary 8-bit programmer Steve Back, who was responsible for most of the company's vast early output. Like so many early British software houses, original releases were rather simple and straightforward, multi-game compilations and text adventures. By 1983, Microdeal was failing to match the arcade content of its rivals. Releasing games on Dragon, Tandy and Commodore C16 meant less potential customers, but it also meant less competition. It's doubtful Microdeal would have survived for long in the cutthroat world of Spectrum or Commodore 64 publishing. The oddly named Scarf Man is a lacklustre attempt at Pac-Man, and while this cheeky Star Trek ripoff tempted litigation, it failed to sell in significant numbers. It became clear the company needed some way to differentiate its titles from the competition. Perhaps a mascot, their very own Horace or Wally Week. And so, taking inspiration from the recently released Crazy Painter, Steve Back produced Cuthbert Goes Walkabout, and a legend was born. So, who is Cuthbert? Well, he's a cheeky, freckled schoolboy. They would have referred to him as a scamp back in the 1980s. A red stripy jumper like Where's Wally and big round glasses, so we know he's a computer geek. There are obvious comparisons with the character Just William, who was also popular at the time. To Microdeal's surprise, the addition of Cuthbert on the cover was rewarded with a significant boost in sales. So Steve set to work on churning out a small mountain of Cuthbert games, cementing his future as the lovable ambassador for the Dragon and TRS-80 formats. Cuthbert Goes Digging, Cuthbert in the Jungle, Cuthbert in the Mines, Cuthbert in Space, King Cuthbert gave him a girlfriend, and even when Microdeal games didn't have Cuthbert in the title, they had him in the packaging as a spaceman, a miner, a clown, even as Robin Hood. Predictably, the rarest of all the Cuthbert games is the last one, Cuthbert and the Golden Chalice. Suddenly his hair has gone blonde and the freckles have receded. He looks more like Mr. Punch in the game itself though. Though his run of games came to a rather abrupt end, he remained as a brand for the company until the 16-bit era. Microdeal even branding their monthly newsletter the Cuthbert Chronicle. Steve Back went on to create 16-bit classics Gold Runner, the fantastic 4-player Leatherneck, before teaming up with Chris Sorrell to create the legendary James Pond franchise. Regretfully, we must now bow our heads for another retro gaming legend. Steve sadly passed away in 2019. Well, what about Cuthbert, I hear you cry? Well, he's not quite finished yet. In 2021, Lazo Rajsani released his own version of Cuthbert in the Cooler for the Game Boy Color. He followed it up in 2023 with Cuthbert in Space. This is profound. Let me read this to you. Link up with Microdeal. You are now a member of the Cuthbert Club. Yes! Yes! Just by owning this game, I'm a member of the club. I wonder what I look like as Cuthbert.
Oh, I'm alive again! Fantastic! I think I should host the show. What do you reckon?
Very impressive, I think you'll find. Fill in the coupon below to receive regular advance information on new progress from Microdeal. I mean, it is just an information. Join the club, find out about our new releases, and let us promote stuff to you. But there is a free Cuthbert Club badge, and I was thinking, have I seen the Cuthbert Club badge? It's elusive, and I need it. Send us your program top scores. Remember, this came in a serious utility program. Your programming ideas, your news, your views on Microdeal programs, and you can have your name in print. The Microdeal free program of the month goes out to the best correspondent. Isn't that lovely? And I like this box where you put the information in. You've got the name, age, address, school, the computer you have, Microdeal programs you hold. You would Microdeal programs you hold. That is a change in the English language. We wouldn't say, how many games are you holding at the moment? It's strange. Move on, Jace. This is still dull. Well, this is duller. This is a blank computer cassette, okay? I'm showing you a blank C15, that's 15 minutes of record time, 15 minutes, 7.5 minutes each side. It's enough for one program, unless it's a really long one, a Commodore 64 game, 13 minutes, some of those. But anyway, 15-minute computer cassette, but it is a Cuthbert cassette. It is on the Microdeal label, and that is a picture of Cuthbert. Which I think is pretty awesome. A blank cassette, yeah, Cuthbert computer cassette, Cuthbert Productions. So it's a blank tape, but it's still getting all the credit, and it comes with, what does it come with? A little fold-out thingy. Guess what? Link up with Microdeal. You're now a member of the Cuthbert Club. Yes, they were sticking these in everything, even in blank tapes. I think it's an interesting piece of computing history. What about you?
Oh dear. You really are that deluded that you think people are still watching.
All right, moving on. What about this? This is Spy Hunter. Now, this is a classic arcade game. We all experienced Spy Hunter, particularly on the Spectrum and Commodore 64. They were great, but completely different versions of the game, based on the coin-op. But this is the Colecovision version, never released in the UK, but released in the USA. Spy Hunter for the Coleco, Adam. I thought, well, you guys definitely want to see what Spy Hunter's like on the Colecovision. Oh yes, here we go then, and to me this looks pretty fabulous. It's a top-down racer, not really many corners, you're kind of always aiming up the screen. Just like the arcade version, this one plays music as you play. This is a version of the Dragnet theme, Peter Gunn. But it's getting into the supplies truck which makes this game kind of special. Drive into the back to top up with oil and ammo, and then splurge it out on the road to take out all those vehicles behind you. Okay, now let's just check out the ZX Spectrum version. Gone is the music, gone is some of the speed, but I think the graphics are better. It's a real nice chunky car. Yeah, you got some blue outlines around the trees, looks a bit odd. I've often argued that the Spectrum version is actually better than other versions, but maybe not better than that Coleco version. As my car turns into a speedboat, another brilliant part of this game. Let's just go side by side and compare them. Now, admittedly, it looks like they're completely different games. I think just for that final comparison, is the original coin-op version better? Let's check it out. Oh my god, look at the detail of the car. It's a lot more similar to the Colecovision version. Look, animated smoke. That looks like proper smoke coming out the back into the truck to resupply. Yeah, okay, the arcade version looks fantastic. This week's NES game really is a classic. It is USA Final Fantasy on the NES. That is the first Final Fantasy converted into English language, released in the USA on NES cartridge. Obviously, Final Fantasy came out for the Famicom originally. Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3 and 4 came out on the original Famicom, and then we went for 5, 6, 7, 5 and 6 on the Super Famicom. Oh please, you know I know this, I've just forgotten.
Oh, I don't mind telling you about my Final Fantasy. I just need a jar of warm Nutella, Jason Statham, and a firm hard-boiled egg.
But there it is, that is an original Final Fantasy. It just looks so cool, doesn't it? Final Fantasy for the NES. Yeah, you know, it's not classic, is it? Final Fantasy 1 is not revered as the greatest in the series. Final Fantasy 7 on the PlayStation 1 is. But still, amazing thing to show you, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Now here's a game for the Commodore, but not for the Commodore 64. It's for the Commodore 16+4, and it's an unusual one. Look at this. Legionnaire by Anko. Anko you'll know from Kickoff. Kickoff in it. Loads of great games on the... No, loads of terrible games on the Anko label. Including this one probably. Legionnaire for the Commodore C16+4. But look at the artwork. Isn't that gruesome? Isn't that... Ooh, Rambo inspired, I guess. And here's what it looks like to play. You are wandering through a desert, avoiding gunfire, trying not to die of heat exhaustion. Oh, like that. It's got one of those little plastic holders for the cassette, which is an extra layer of quality there. But yeah, very nice. Doesn't this prove, you can just see the link between Anirog and Anko, can't you? Because in the design of the cassette from this era. Very early, 1986 is an early game for Anko. Anko, Kingsoft, Anirog, all related. What a game.
What's on the table?
Are we getting into this yet? Maybe. This is something very special. This is a Gamate. Now you might remember we did a Hales Stereo Vision special. It was an unknown prototype. It was a British remake of this console, the VTech Gamate. Now this is like the Tomatronic 3D games, but it takes cartridges, and this is the Gamate version actually came out. The one that we showed you before on that old video didn't actually come out. That is why it's a prototype, because they didn't actually make it into the shops. But this one did in tiny numbers. Not in the UK. I do not believe this came out in the UK at all. But I think it did come out, possibly Portugal, Spain, and some in America. But it's so rare, so rare. I had to show you it. I'm not going to show you it, be playing it again. But look at the box of that. Isn't that a beautiful thing? You do not see these very often, I promise you. 30 years doing this now, I have, you know, it is very rare to find stuff like this. I'll slide the box out there, and there we have it. It's got its poly lid. And look at that, it's like brand new. It's like it's never been touched. It almost looks so cheap and nasty, it might destroy itself when I try and pull it out of the box. There's the branding, Gamate. Fabulous. 1983. It is made in Japan. It's on VTL, VTech. It's got the strap on. And we've got the game cartridge. And I will just in case you didn't see that other video, why not just take this out and show you. This has got its own instructions. 2 individual LCD screens to give you the LCD effect. I'm going to try and do this with style. So this pushes forward like that. Lift up the lid. It's like a bonnet to a car. And there's the cartridge, and we just place that in there. Like, just fits in the gap, and then we're picking the lid down and we close it shut. And that's why it looked so plain before, because the actual name of the game comes through the little window. It's quite a tedious LCD game, pretty much like a lot of the other VTech LCD handhelds, but it is in 3D. Yeah, and it's just such a rare thing, such a rare, beautiful game. I knew you'd appreciate seeing this. And that brings us to the end of another What's on the Table show. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you'll tune in for the next one. Until next time, happy retro gaming, retro gamers!
Retrogames says thank you for watching. Retrogames says thank you for watching.
Hey, hang on a minute. I didn't even get to say something this week.